Alright, so the mod comes with a default config that only works on Livonia. That's the only map that I've taken gone to the trouble and taken the time to map out every single lake and pond in the map. The river is not frozen, and these giant lakes in the top northeast are not frozen, but literally every other lake on the map is covered in ice and needs to be dug through in order to fish or get water from on my Winter Livonia server. It did take me quite a while to set them all up. It took me a couple hours to go through and map out each lake, but I'll run you through an example lake to show you. It's not hard to do, it's just time consuming. So if you have a team of people, maybe you guys can tackle it together if you're adding a new map. I'm not going to go through and add any of these modded maps or even Zenarchist. I just don't have the time. But for those of you who do run those maps and want this mod running, I'll show you how to set up a frozen lake. I'll use these two as an example. This lake here, I already know from being in game, this lake here is going to be the easiest one to set up. Very low maintenance because it doesn't have a dam wall and it's shaped in such a way that the ice planes won't clip through the ground in the surrounding area. So the way this mod works is you need to input four positions, four locations, coordinates, map coordinates, into a function. I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. And then the function will automatically fill that area with a grid of ice planes or squares. So let's start with this one here. If I turn on my frozen lake pos filter, these are all the lakes in Livonia. And yes, I've covered every single one of these. So if you're running a Livonia map, you're in luck. It's already done for you. And the mod will automatically generate the default config for that map when you run it on your Winter Livonia server. But for any other server, as I said, this is the process. So I'll delete these markers. What we need to do, let's start with this lake here. The first thing I need to do is copy the four coordinates surrounding this lake. So it's going to be different from lake to lake. You'll need to go in game and verify that you've got it right, which is the time consuming part. But let me bring up the default config. Here it is. So what you would do, I'll get to ignore plane positions in a minute. This is the function that spawns the planes. So let me make some space here. This is what it looks like. And it takes four coordinates. These are I survive coordinates. And this final number here is the height coordinate, which we need to get from in-game. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But first of all, let's get our four coordinates, map coordinates. So that is, let's just do this one. Actually, this is what I did when I did Livonia. I had a whole bunch of these copy and pasted like this. And I had like a whole list of these like that. And I just went through and mapped them all out. So we'll just start with these two lakes, as I said. We'll start with this one here. So that's the top left coordinate, top right coordinate, bottom left coordinate. These can be approximate. Some lakes will require you to be more accurate than others. And bottom right coordinate. And we're done for the coordinates here. Now we need to enter a height number. So for this, I actually use the DayZ editor to get the height coordinate. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So first of all, I need to unload all of my mods and load up DayZ editor and all their required add-ons. It's optional, but you can also add in Winter Livonia. So you need Winter Zenarchist and Winter Livonia, or whatever winter map you're running. You can do it in the summer map, it doesn't matter. But this way you can at least see what it's going to look like in game when you're working with patching up lakes, which I'll show you later. I also need to add my Zen Ice Lakes mod. Now this will be named something else when it's published. You just need to load whatever the official PBO is from the workshop. You need to load that mod as well. And that's it. So we've got the DayZ editor and required mods. The winter map mod you're running, which is optional, and Zen Ice Lakes, which you definitely need. So you just click play, load up the game, and I'll show you what to do next. All right, so open up the map you plan to do this on, and then you need to go to the lake you're working on. So in this case, that was down here, around here. So teleport here. This is the lake I'm looking at. So to get the height coordinate, all I need to do here is search for land_zen ice sheet hole. So we want the one with the hole in it. Just drag it around the lake. Lift it up by holding Alt and clicking and dragging, or you can double click and scroll the mouse wheel here. Hold Shift to be a little more precise. And what we want to see here is that the ice plane covers the water and the hole looks fine. You can bring it up quite high, but I find that around here is best. And then we can teleport on there and walk on it to see how it looks. That looks fine to me. So we'll leave our height there. So all I need to do now is double click this and get this number. So you can't, I don't think you can copy and paste this from here. You need to type it out. So I've got two screens here. I'll just drag this over and type in 434.702. And we're done. That lake is done. And this is what my function would look like. So we've got our height coordinate in properly, 434.702. And our 4 coordinates. That when the server loads up, if you have this function added to zenisolates.c, so that's the file I'm working with here. If it's within this function here, down in this list, spawn Zen ice planes, this will cover that lake with frozen ice planes that the player needs to cut a hole in to fish or drink through. Now you need to do this for every lake on the map. So like I said, I found it easier to just paste out a bunch of these. And I just went through Eyes of Vive from top left to bottom right, lake after lake after lake. And it doesn't take as long as you'd think. You know, you just hop around from lake to lake. Drop in ice hole, bring it up to about there. Have a quick look, looks fine. Double click, paste in the high coordinate and the 4 coordinates surrounding it. The issue that you will have with some lakes, like this one here, is these dam walls. So my spawn formula is going to spawn ice sheets, in most cases, past this dam wall, and it'll look like this in game, which we obviously don't want. So the only way to fix this with the sort of method that I'm using is like this. So what I would normally do is I'd bring my hole over, put it there, get the height coordinate, and then what I would need to do is come in and put 4, oops, that's the wrong one, that's the big one that can't be cut through. I bring over this 4x4 one. I find it best, if you can get away with it, don't adjust the orientation, just leave it at 0, 0, 0. That way it will line up better with the other ice sheets that spawn in. But I'm going to paste a few of these in here, and we need to basically just roughly line these up. They can overlap a little bit. The less they overlap, the better. So you want to get it pretty close to the edges for them, like that. We'll adjust the heights later. There we go. That's fine. This one up to about there. Put it so it's clipping through the dam wall. Line them up like that. I've got 2 there. Delete that one. Don't worry about the heights yet. Bring that over. And we probably don't need this one. And that'll do. Alright, just make sure they're not clipping through the wall on this side. Looks fine. So that's it, we're done for those. Now what we can do, I should probably cover this little bit here as well. But you get the idea. You want to cover up as much water as possible. So bring all of these over a little bit. If you leave any water exposed, then that defeats the whole purpose of this mod, because you can just fish through that crack in the water, in the ice. So there we go. I don't need to bother adjusting the height here because I can do that in the C code. So what I would do now is go File, Export, Init C, call it anything. I'll just call mine XXXX. Okay. Open it up in Notepad or whatever you're using. Here it is. Here are my ice sheets. I've got a couple of duplicates in there. I need to get rid of the holes. We don't want to spawn the whole ones in. We just want to spawn these 4 ice sheets in to block off this edge of the dam wall. So now I would cut these over to here And if I scroll down here to dam bog dam wall, I've already done this, but I'm just going over this again for example purposes. What I need to do now is replace spawn objects with my custom function there, and we need to get rid of the scale. We don't need the scale, and that's it. We're nearly done. So now if I save my code and I come up and uncomment all of these, because now there's a second step to this. Let's comment out all of those, bring this up, get rid of all that, because I've already done these lakes in game. But that is how you would go about adding or fixing a dam wall, is adding those 4 individual ice sheets along the edge of the dam wall. We've got our regular ice planes covering the area, so I've already covered these 4 corners, so up here, 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 and here. But I'll show you what it looks like in game. So now I can exit out of here. Alright, so now if I turn on my admin tools, I'm using VPP admin tools. That's the one I'm most familiar with. And we come down to, here's the dam we were working on. I'll just spawn nearby. There's our frozen lakes. And everything looks fine, except for this part here. So first of all, let me delete all of these. And I'll show you what the problem is. So here's the problem. Because we're working with a square when we place our coordinates here, and this section here is not exactly, it's not vertical, it's on an angle here. What we have happening is this is the border of our ice square. If we go through the map here, you'll see this is the big square that spawns, and it clips through the wall and also leaves this little bit exposed here. So what I need to do is add those 4 ice planes as I showed you earlier. If we come down to the dam bog here, all these height coordinates are a bit off. So what I need to do is replace them with this. So this will make sure that our 4 new ice planes spawn at the same height as the rest of our ice planes. And then we also need to work with this ignore ice plane positions. So I've commented this out to show you guys how it works. I think I only need 2 of these. So what I need to do now is I need to copy the position by pressing P while aiming at this ice sheet and then delete it. That one's gone. And I need to paste that coordinate into this array here. But I'll show you how I did it. I used ChatGPT to help me with this because sometimes you need to delete quite a few of them. This one's not bad. This only requires 2 deletions. Some lakes will require a lot more than that. So this is how I do it. P, delete, so I know that I've copied that one, paste it in here. And that's it. Now we have the square here, but those ice sheets that I positioned will cover those up. This hole here will be covered up by the ice sheets we placed, and so will this hole here. So right now I only have 2 of these, so I just need to cut that vector out, delete the commas, because you can't have commas in a vector in the game. If you're not used to coding, this will be a bit confusing, but just follow my steps here. I cut out the vector position that I copied, the position, the coordinates, cut them into this array, into the quotes here, and I deleted the commas. Now these 2 ice planes will not spawn when the grid is being created, and we'll have a hole there, but as I mentioned, these 4 ice sheets will cover that hole up, and they were manually placed. And that's unfortunately what we have to do with a few of these lakes. Most of them are fine. These are all fine. These didn't require custom placement, all these lakes, but these 3 did on Livonia at least. And I have a ton of ignored ice planes, as mentioned. Some of these, sometimes the ground is uneven and you'll have these ice sheets poking through the ground in places. But in order to fully cover a lake, you need to spawn them all in. So this is the only way to do it. The mod does do its best to optimize, so if the ice sheet is spawned too far underground, it just won't spawn it. So if you're worried about that, don't worry. Even though we covered this entire square all the way up to this corner, it didn't actually spawn in the ice sheets for this area because it's too far underground. So I did my best to optimize this mod as much as possible for these larger lakes. But anyway, if I get rid of this, save my code, and restart the server. There we go. There we go. You see the clipping is fixed. There's no more ice planes clipping through, and we're flush with the wall. There is no gaps that the player can fish through. It does look a little bit janky if you get up close to it and you look, you'll see some clipping. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about that unless you really take your time to do the attention to detail. But for the most part, no one's really going to notice that, and it's only along the side of the dam wall. The rest of the lake will be fine. And that's how you create a custom frozen lake with a weird shape. If you need to go that extra step and tidy it up a bit, that's how you do it. So just a reminder, if you need to delete a bunch of clipping ice sheets, all you need to do is look at it, press P to copy the location, paste it into here, and then delete it in game so you know you've already copied that one. And you just go through, copy, paste, delete, copy, paste, copy, paste, and so on. Now if you have a long list, like sometimes I had a list that looked like this, and going through and doing them all individually would be a huge pain in the ass. So what you can do is this. Take an example of a few array inserts, go over to ChatGPT, say, hey ChatGPT, can you help me tidy up some data into an array? This is what the base array looks like. It's misunderstood my question, but you get the idea. And then you just come over and you copy this list and say, can you take the positions out of this list and insert them into that array for me? Paste. There's our long list, and there ChatGPT goes. It takes a minute, but it will format all of these for you into the array, and when it's done you can just click copy code and paste it in, and you're done. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. I know it's not perfect, it's a bit of a hacky way to go about this, but it's the only way I could think of to allow the player to cut holes in the ice at multiple positions around the lake, instead of just having one hole in the middle. You can cut a hole anywhere on the lake within reason. Obviously, you can only cut a hole in the middle of this square here. That's why if the player's standing on it and they go to cut a hole, the mod will automatically, if you watch carefully, it will automatically spin them around to face the direction of the hole they're cutting. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. Have fun out there, guys.